And we're going to do a little bit of MMA talk. So this is on the UFC 319 main event recap, Chimaev's dominance. So at UFC 319, it was held August 16th, which as a recording, that was last night at the United Center in Chicago. You know, that's the house that Michael built. So Khamzat Chimaev dethroned Dricus du Plessis to become the new UFC Middleweight Champion via unanimous decision, 50-44 across all judges, a dominant performance from start to finish. I feel like the scorecards weren't generous enough. There was more. So the 10-point must system gives people the winner 10 points and the loser 9. If they really dominated it, it gets the loser 8. So that would actually end up being like 50-40. At best, it was like 50, like 41, 42 or something. But yeah, he dominated this fight. He overwhelmed du Plessis with relentless grappling, securing multiple takedowns and maintaining top control virtually the entire fight, even if a finish slipped away. Striking stats were jaw-dropping. Chimaev landed 529 strikes, while du Plessis managed just 45.
Almost 10, more than 10 times more.
Well, it's funny though. These strikes, they weren't crazy hard. They were like ground strikes, and he had them in a crucifix, and he was just kind of like hitting them. So they didn't count as significant strikes. So this is like the biggest.
Just pepper at him.
So this is those are just total strikes. So this is the fight where it had the most total strikes in a fight overall, and then it had the biggest amount of significant strikes to total strikes, which is the significant strikes was only like 20 something, which is kind of ridiculous. But in the cage, du Plessis had no answer, only a brief surge in the final round that didn't shift momentum. And at the post-fight press conference, Chimaev kept it simple. He said, "Get my money. The belt is important for my country. I never game plan. Just go in and work." I find that hard to believe. But yeah, I expected Khamzat to win, but not the way the fight played out. And our little video we did before this, where I'm talking about my prediction, I basically thought it would last way shorter, but beyond 30 seconds near the end, Khamzat completely schooled DDP. He took him down at will, controlled him, got in a crucifix multiple times. The question if Khamzat can go 5 rounds really isn't there anymore. He's obviously the best middleweight on the planet right now, and there's a chance he could be the champ at 170 and 205, depending if he wanted to move down or up, because he's fought at 170 a lot. So the sky's the limit for this guy. Hopefully he stays busy, because he doesn't fight as much as some other guys. What we witnessed last night was something special. It was one of the most dominant victories over a champ ever. So strap in for a while, because Khamzat is going to have this belt until he loses interest or moves to a different division. A lot of people thought that if this fight was boring because it was mainly grappling, but I thought the fight was anything but boring. I love watching guys outclass other people with grappling. Overall, it was a really enjoyable event with lots of awesome finishes that capped off a historic middleweight title fight. And I don't know what to tell you guys. If you don't like this, just you probably shouldn't be watching UFC, because it's a big part of this stuff, you know. Yeah, it was an awesome fight. And, you know, like they were talking a little bit of trash before, but afterwards they were really respectful and cordial to each other. They both class acts, and I really like seeing that a lot. And I just don't see anybody beating Khamzat at any weight division for a while. That's pretty much about the end of that. Awesome event, and pretty good stuff. I know you didn't watch it because it was on at 2 a.m., but I'm sure you've seen some highlights. Pretty nuts stuff. Huh?
Oh yeah, I made sure to at least watch the highlights of the fight. It is very impressive. I mean, I had no idea that, you know, Khamzat was that guy like that. I thought that the fight was going to be a lot more competitive than it was, but you know, I'm also fairly lapsed when it comes to watching some of this stuff, so it was a good fight to get back into it on. The good card in general to get back into it on. There was a lot of exciting knockouts, good fights.
Yeah, it was funny.
Maybe UFC is going to be back a little bit, and with the new ESPN deal, it's going to be a lot of, or not ESPN, Paramount Plus. I'm sorry, it's going to be a lot easier to watch all this stuff. So I'll be a lot more motivated to have it on.
Yeah. Overall, though, it's pretty nuts event, because there's only been like 9 spinning elbows knockouts in the UFC history, and they had 2 of them last night, so it made 10 and 11, and they were back to back. It was funny. It was in the co-main event and the fight before that, so that's historic in its own too. I wonder if that's ever going to happen again. 2 back-to-back spinning elbows.
Probably not. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, but overall, I'm really looking forward to Khamzat's next fight. I hope they get him somewhere quick. He was saying that they might try to get him in that Saudi Arabia or whatever the next time to go to UAE. So that would be interesting. But we'll talk about the next pay-per-view when it happens, unless there's an event that I feel like the main events weren't talking about before then. But we're just trying to get something that we like, or I and Dave likes talking about, and will generate interest. So if it's something that people may like not know about, it will be tough to generate interest with that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Oh, it's funny. Did you see the, obviously afterwards, I think McGregor, I think it was McGregor that congratulated the guy,
yeah,
and then Nate
said
Diaz
he
was
can't
like,
fight.
"Oh, can't fight" or something like that. Yeah.
Nate Diaz was actually supposed to fight Khamzat, but Khamzat was like got sick that week and lost, didn't make weight, so they ended up switching him like a fight. And Nate was supposed to fight Khamzat, and then Tony Ferguson was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. Well, they switched it up, and Nate fought Tony Ferguson, and then Khamzat fought Kevin Holland, and like Khamzat submitted him in like a minute 30, I think, and then Nate completely dominated Tony. But if they would have fought that night, there's no doubt to me that Khamzat would have probably finished Nate in like under 5 minutes.
You think?
Absolutely. Khamzat's Nate's natural 155er. Khamzat's like 6'2", like when he's not cutting weight, he's like 200 pounds. Like he's way bigger than him. And Nate's always had trouble with really strong, top-heavy grapplers. I just don't see a world where, like, especially Khamzat at the time, he was fighting like really recklessly and aggressive, and Nate just physicality isn't something that he would deal with very well.
So one last MMA thing before we get on out of here. What's going on with Nick Diaz? I remember he was going to fight, and then there was some kind of thing that happened, and then
the last I heard about him, he was outside of some building in California trying to light grass blades on fire, and then somebody was recording him, and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here!" What? Like he was all mad that they were recording him, and they're like, "Is everything okay?" But I'm pretty sure he's doing some pretty heavy drugs right now, the ones that start with M. It's sad because Nick was a better fighter than Nate. He had more tools, a little bit bigger, crisper boxing, better ground game. He just had a lot of problems with depression and drug use, and it's just a shame because he's one of my favorite fighters of all time, and I wish him nothing but the best. I saw his girlfriend; she was the one that was kind of commenting on some of the problems that he had online, and that's really all I can say about that. I don't want to go stretching too much on something that I may not know about.
I did find some recent news here. It looks like his conditioning coach shared some positive news here. It says that the Stockton fighter is doing exceptionally well. It looks like he had attended a rehab facility in Mexico. And unintended thing here, but we're going to talk about this real fast. It's back in January 2025, he entered rehab and met with a lot of positive sentiment from fans. There were some troubling claims saying that he'd been forcibly taken to the facility. I don't know about that. But they say that his coach says that he's doing exceptionally well, and he's finally overcome the challenges that previously affected him. Throughout his struggles, Nick's family and genuine friends offered unwavering support, while others claimed to care for him ultimately took advantage of his situation. Fortunately, Nick is now in optimal health and high spirits, thanks to, in part, of the positive influences of loving partner who values him for who he is, beyond his fame or material possessions. So that's good, according to that guy, he's doing well here. So that's good. That's his conditioning coach, Jose Garcia.
Oh yeah, he was that kind of overweight guy that you'd always see with Nick and Nate at their fights. He was their boxing coach since they've been kids, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they're I'm big fans of both of them. I'm glad that Nick's doing okay. His fights against like Frank Shamrock and BJ Penn and Cyborg.
The fight against Daly and Strikeforce for that title they were just throwing bombs. That's one of my favorite fights of all time.
Him and Robbie Lawler the first time. There's so many good fights. Him and Takanori Gomi, him and Anderson Silva. He fought GSP. He
came back and beat up BJ Penn after he came back from Strikeforce.
Yeah, he fought in Elite XC there too. He's literally fought just about everybody. But I think that being said, we'll do some updates with him too if we see anything good, because we're both big fans of him. But I think that.
Well, I mean that news was literally from like 2 days ago.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. We got a little bit of update news. So I think that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up.